Hello, everybody. I don't know if anybody is here just off the bat, but good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm in a good mood today. I'm in a good mood today. I, I was able to see I go to the hospital and I do like groups and I do like therapy sometimes, and um, I got to see somebody that helps me out on a regular basis. There's some appointments where you go to and you're like, man, I'm dreading this appointment I gotta go to, and you do it because you have to or whatever. But then there's appointments that you look forward to, that you can't wait until they start because you get so much out of it. And so I was at one of these appointments yesterday where I get so much out of it, and this person has helped me a lot throughout the years, and so you know I try to keep my YouTube uh, personality. I wouldn't even say persona because it's my authentic self, right? And I'm authentically me all the time. I guess I would say that I don't make myself vulnerable to a lot of people, right? And um, I guess somebody that I knew told him about my YouTube channel, and I said, yeah, it's not for everybody. It's tough because um, I want people to hear what I have to say, right? Because a lot of these subjects are important, but also there's a little bit of fear because I respect this person and I want this person to like me, right? And this person's important to me. And so there's that segment of it too. And see, I wasn't always a believer in God like from when I was a kid. There was no pressure on me to believe in God as a kid. There was no pressure on me to live a certain way. I mean, every kind of lifestyle was open to me. Um, my parents would have probably supported me either way. Now, while some of my upbringing wasn't, and I'm actually opening up a little bit here, guys, so this is kind of rare for me, but some of my upbringing, I guess you can say, was rough. I guess you could say was unstable. And I guess you could say some of my upbringing was bizarre, Um, but there was no pressure on me to be a certain way, right? Um, I basically got to, for the most part, decide what rules I wanted to follow. I decided, what my orientation would be. I decided who my friends would be. I decided how much effort I would give in school, right? And that's rare for a kid to be able to have that much um, control over themselves, And so in that sense, I would say that I don't ever remember being a kid, right? But also, I don't ever remember being serious either. And so, I guess this person, was raised a different way, and with a lot of pressure. And so, it's hard for me to like understand where people are coming from sometimes, right? And so I grew up very tolerant, very accepting of everyone and everyone's path, right? And it's an effort for me to be this way, right? To hey, mad about a shape. it's an effort for me, and it was an effort for me to be a Christian man, right? With right and wrong being defined by God, right? And I always like to say, well, they're not my rules, they're God's rules, right? And it's not even my job to enforce any rules, right? My job is to love other people, right? As I would love myself. My job is to spread the gospel. My job is to share the good news about God, speak highly about God, right? And God will judge who He wants to judge, and God will bring people into my on my path, right? Hey Tony, hey JJ, hey Rowan. And so God will put people on my path who He wants me to help, right? And God will put people in my path that help me, you know. And so, living out in a very liberal part of California, right? And then also being naturally just a very liberal person, right? Um, um, all the stuff that I have gained in my character and my personality about God um, was stuff that I had to learn. I had to learn how to do. I had to learn how to be that way, right? And so I love God with all my heart, and I'm not embarrassed to say that at all, And I love I respect and love the fact that I didn't make this world, right? God made this world, and um, He could do what He wants to do. And I also know that God doesn't just shake His finger and say this is a rule, and you're going to do it, and it's somehow going to be unfair to me, right? Um, there's a lot of things I want to do naturally, right, that don't make God happy, right? But I don't do them, because I love God, right? And so it's hard, but there is some things that I want to do for God, but for some reason I can't do it or I don't do it, right? And I don't want. I I guess it wouldn't matter, in this example, but I don't want people to think that it's some big thing that I do, right? That is unpleasing to God. I'm just saying that every day there are things that I want to do for God. I want to be perfect, right? But I'm not perfect. I'm not going to be perfect. And so I guess over the years, right, with uh, churches and Christianity, there's been a lot of people that separate different sins, right? And one's worse than the other, this and that, right? And I agree that there is sin that's worse than other sin. I agree with that, right? But nobody fits God's mold, right, of a good, solid person, right? Even Paul said that our best works are dirty rags, right? And so I guess the key is, right, what does your heart look like, right? What does your heart look like? And if you have a heart for God, right, and there's something that you're struggling with, right, and that you can't do, right, God knows that you're not going to die perfect, right? And some things may seem unfair, right? But we live in a world where, you know, children get cancer, right? That's unfair to me, right? In my world, that's unfair, right? But that happens in the world. It is the way it is, right? And so I remember saying this, right, when I was going through my stomach issue, right, and I was going through bone scans, and I was going through like where I was getting cameras down my throat and all this stuff, right? And I was accepting the fact, right, at that point that, I didn't think I was going to get better. I thought that if they found what it was, I probably wouldn't get any better than I was at that time. And I was going to accept that, right? I mean, I'm almost 100% now, but it's, so I was willing to accept that, and I was finding, I wanted to find out if I had cancer or something, terminal, whatever, right? And I wasn't going to get any kind of radiation or or chemotherapy or any of that stuff. I probably would have done the surgery, right? But and that probably would have been confusing to some people, right? But I wouldn't have done treatment, right? But somebody asked me, right, like, how do you feel like knowing that it could be cancer? Are you okay, right? And I said, this was my response is that, it's better me, right, than some 8-year-old kid, right? That's the way I really looked at it, right? Because I remember my brother going through cancer and surgeries and stuff from when he was like 8 until he was, I guess he was 15. And, that was horrific for him, and especially for a kid not to know if he's going to live, make it, live or die. It's hard to see a kid go through that. And so that's always given me perspective of, if something bad is happening to me or if there's some kind of rule on me that doesn't feel fair or right, that, not, it's this world in this life has never been fair to anybody, right? For as long as existence has been around, this world has always had some kind of element that seems maybe unfair, or not, like it could be different, and so I would just say that uh, after discovering, or first after, like when I joined the military, I started to accept the fact that there could be a God, right? And I was ready to accept that kind of idea, right? Um, and really, I would say at that time it was because I was thinking about my own mortality, right? The fact that it's possible that I could die, right? And so, naturally, I was curious about God, right? And then I would say from that point on, I would say that I was a Christian, right? That's what I would call myself. I would, refer to myself as that. That was part of my character, right? From that point, right? I don't know if I was saved or not. I couldn't tell you, right? Um, but I'll say this, right? 4 years ago, when the day that I was sure that the Earth was flat, you know, after studying every angle of this thing, trying to prove it wrong, like, you know, they sent radio waves to the moon. How does that work? Everybody could do that. Um, folk called pendulum. I mean, everything, right? Everything. Like I wanted to study every angle and everything that anybody can do on their own, right? Experiments on their own, all the math, everything, all the particle physics, all the regular physics, like everything. I looked at it in every angle, and part of me didn't want it to be true that the Earth was flat, right, and stationary, but part of me kind of did. Um, but when I was sure, right, I still felt like I couldn't really tell anybody else, right? But the day that I knew for sure inside, okay, I'm sure, um, was the day that uh, I really started taking the existence of God very seriously, as if God was right there looking at me. Every time that I've ever sinned, I've been in front of God, right? And it was overwhelming, right? Not in a bad way, right? Um, I was overjoyed, right? Because um, really, it is um, um, really the best case scenario for us, right, is for God to be real, for Him to be a caring, loving God, right? For Him to forgive us of things that rules that we can't follow or aren't able to do, right? And for Him to promise us perfect, everlasting contentment and joy and peace in another existence that's forever, right? Um, I don't know if it could be any better than that, right? For us, right? And I don't know why anyone wouldn't want that to be true, or what someone's motivation for wanting to say that, you know, that that it's different than it says in the Bible, because, of course, it went through my head, well, obviously there's a God, we're on a flat, motionless earth, right? But who is the real God, I mean, went through that. But, without taking everyone down that rabbit hole, right, which was pretty scary for me. I mean, I'm glad that I did it now that I'm sure that Jesus is my Lord and Savior. Jesus is God to me, right? Um, uh, I'm glad that I'm sure, but it was very hard to go down that rabbit hole and challenge what I wanted to be true. And so I'll say that I'm grateful that I did that, and I'm grateful that I am at where I'm at in life with that. You know, I'm grateful to be sure of what I believe in, right? I'm grateful to be sure of it, and I didn't always have that. Um, I know that there's probably still people that, because of course there's a certain level of faith in believing in God, right? Even though, like, for us, we're pretty much know for sure, right? But there is that little jump, that little leap of faith, right? And there are people out there that want empirical proof that a person died and came back to life, and they they have to have um, they have to have it make sense to them in their head, right? And you know, we're not going to get that, right? We have to be at a point where so much weird crap is happening in this world, right? That really someone dying and coming back to life wouldn't be the weirdest thing that's happening right now, you know? And so it's easy for me to believe it, right? And I understand it's not easy for everyone to believe it. I know I know that everyone is united on who the devil is, and that if anybody with a large platform, right, uh, does all the hand signs and communication, and they're united on who the devil is, right? And so I'm glad that, at least this little small niche group of people that are truthers, flat earthers, right, and Christians, right? Because um, I feel like that there are truthers that aren't Christian, right? That's obvious, right? And my opinion of that, right, is that if you're a truther, right, and you're not a Christian, right, if you haven't followed it all the way out to the logical ending point of all of this is that the reason the world is this way is because they want to hide God from us, specifically Jesus from us, so that we don't get our grace and our forgiveness, so that we can go into the world that's been made for us, where nobody has to be less than what God wants us to be. And we're all less than that, right? And nobody has to be different anymore. Nobody has to be out of place anymore. Nobody has to worry about, disappointing God, or worried about what God thinks about us, right? I don't think I ever fit in anywhere I've ever gone for my whole life, right? Until my belief in God was so strong as it is now, right? Not that nobody told me I was cool, right? Because no one's ever told me that, right? But I never felt cool, right? I never felt like, oh, this this is my group. I'm the leader. I feel comfortable here. This is where I'm at, right? I've never felt like that. I've always felt like, I'm part of the group. They're kind of letting me be in the group, and they're nice to do that. And there might be somebody better come along or whatever, and I'll get less attention. That's my own self-talk that is not even true, right? Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, right? But that story I create for myself, that inner monologue, right? Um, Before I understand that I'm doing that to myself, right? That God does love me, right? God knows I'm not perfect, so that's why um, He came down and took His own wrath upon Himself so that He could take my punishment, right? He knows we can't do it, right? He knows we won't ever meet that standard of being good, right? And He loves us anyway. And if we're humble enough to admit that we're not perfect, right? That we're not good, right? Then we can get our forgiveness, and we can move on. You know. Yeah, Tony. I mean, of course, there's evil, right? There's evil people out there that need to be exposed, sure. And their actions are probably hurting other people. Yeah, I agree with that. Um, I'm probably a little more open and forgiving to people that aren't evil, right? If they're a little off, just because maybe if they listen to the truth for a certain amount of time, you never know if that will change them in any kind of way. But I don't think any person, right, on this earth is wrong or is somehow a mistake or somehow a problem. If someone's out there hurting other people, then of course the person's evil needs to be exposed. But I've always been a person that never fit in. I've always been a person that wondered what God thought about me. I've always been a person kind of in fear. And I'll say this, now that I know the true nature of God and not what some church told me, or not what some judgmental people told me, right? God's very forgiving. But I'd still believe in the Jesus that died on a cross for my sins and rose from the dead, right? If you believe in a different Jesus than that, you're in trouble. Because that's the devil trying to sell a different doctrine to you so that you don't accept your grace, your gift. And so we all got to be careful, right? And no, yeah, you're right on that, Sasquatch, absolutely. And yeah, I definitely don't want to take no part of anything that's evil, that's for sure. But if somebody comes here and they're not perfect and they want to get right, then God bless them. If they want to come here and listen about Jesus, then that's great. But most of the time, people that are evil, they hear you talking about Jesus, they'll just leave. Unless they're just trolls or whatever, then of course, it doesn't profit us to have them around. We got to ban them. But I'll tell you what, like with the group we have now, I mean, all I've done is just speak the truth, and look at this group that we have here. Look at the quality of the group that's here. And I think the truth brings that out, right? I mean, yes, the truth causes division. Jesus causes division, but you know what it does? It divides the people that don't want their salvation off. And it attracts people that do want their salvation, that are willing to accept some hard truths in life, right? It was hard for me to understand all the rules that God has, right? It's hard for me to understand that because I was raised in a totally different way, right? But I know that the rules aren't there just for Him to bark at me. I know the rules are there for my benefit, right? And I'm not always going to understand why. I'm not always going to understand why I felt different than other people or whatever, right? And so, I just, you know, I just want to, you know, be, I don't know. I just want to be kind of like a light, you know, kind of a person that brings, you know, glory to God. I want to be a person that um, tries to bring people to forgiveness, right? But you know that you also have to have a change of heart too, you know, and so you know that's going to be between God and them, you know, and you know, and I think that if somebody wanted to learn more about God, or they come here and they hear something they like, or they're already open-minded because they're going down some rabbit holes in the truth community, right? And they want to go that one more step further. There are people that I can direct them to, you know, that know the Bible better than me, that can teach better than me, you know. And you know, I know a few things about flat Earth. I mean, enough to probably, with any reasonable person, I could probably prove the flat Earth in like an hour, you know. It's easy to prove. That's the thing, right? Is that you would think the flat Earth would be the hardest thing to prove, you know, but it's really not. It's easy to prove that the Earth is not a spinning ball, right? And you know, of course, you're going to get these trolls, you know, oh yeah, what's your evidence or whatever, and then you show them, but they don't like it, you know. I mean, I mean, just the thought of air pressure existing next to a vacuum is ridiculous to me now, you know, and you know, just the thought of the fact. I mean, it's obvious we're not moving, right? And like now that we've popped out of the brainwashing, these things are obvious, but at one point we needed it to be proven to us, you know, and so I get that, you know. And there's going to be people that they're never going to accept reality, right? Because um, especially if you have if you've removed God as a variable, right, and how things got here, right? If God is not something you would consider at all, right, and you're trying to figure out how everything started in the world, right? Yeah, you might come up with something that you think is the best explanation, right? But you haven't considered God at all. So you might think that you have something there, right? But you'll never have the truth. You know what I mean? You'll never have the truth of how things all started if you remove God as a variable, right? And I think that I think there's people that um, I think believe in God, but they also they're mad at God, right? And they don't want to consider that God could be real, or that you know something else must be going on, or you know some kind of way to disprove it. And you wonder why, you know, like what what would be somebody's motivation to want to tell me that it's different than I'm reading in the Bible, right? And then like I wonder, right? How have these people read the Bible? Like, do they care about my salvation, right? I guess I saw that movie, that 5 hour movie. I watched some of it, you know, about I guess I forget what it's about, but there was some different ideas in there um, about God or whatever, and I just you know I guess you would believe anything if you don't want it to be true. If you don't want the Bible to be true, you'll believe anything, right? Even God says that they will believe a lie. You know, there'll be a strong delusion, and they will believe a lie. And just know that the wisdom of this world, right? um, will become foolishness, right? I mean, it's foolishness to God. The wisest people on earth that are wise and all smug with their own intelligence, right, um, are fools. And if you don't read the Bible with the um, um, I don't know. Well, I mean, yeah, I don't want any arguing in the chat, but there's going to be arguing. I mean, obviously, anytime you talk about God or anytime you talk about um, flat Earth or anytime you talk about these things that are very triggering, there's going to be some kind of argument. I don't really pay too much attention to the chat when I'm talking. I guess I can do that more. But I would say this is that, you know, um, I would say ignore it. But if somebody's really being like foul, if you have a wrench, I trust you, you know. I wouldn't mind if you timed somebody out, unless that person has a wrench too. I'm not really sure, what's going on in the chat. But, oh, everyone's on the same page? Okay, good, 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 good. Yeah, you're right. It's time to divide the wheat from the chaff, man. It's time to divide the wheat from the tares. The harvest is happening. The sheep from the goats, man. And absolutely. But you know that what we're waiting for is for the last Gentile to be saved, right? For the time of the Gentiles has to be over in order for everything to be ready for Jesus to come back. And so, when I say that, like I accept people that aren't Christian and maybe aren't perfect, right, to come in here, right, because none of us are or were, right. It's people that are open to listening about God and believing in God, right? Like not someone that's going to be disruptive. I don't mind anybody listening in, but if they're going to be a participant in the chat and not crazy, we don't need any of that. And so it is what it is. I would say be careful about messaging me because it's going to show on the screen, you know. And so, you know, because the way my notifications are, but I like the little tight little group that we have now, and I think that I've been able to get all of my thoughts out in a good 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and I think we're attracting the right kind of people, right? And see, like I don't I don't only just think about like the things that people are saying to me, right, on the face value. I mean, I also try to understand what someone's intentions are too, right? If if someone's intentions are to manipulate me or to try to get me to do something I don't want to do, or um, you know, trying to be nefarious to me or to a friend of mine, right? It's almost worse to attack one of my friends, right? Because that makes me more uncomfortable, than someone attacking me. And so, trust me, I value you guys that are in the chat. I do. And you guys are worth gold to me. And so I'll say this, right? My demographic, right? You know, seems to be older women, right? Seems to be like, uh, women ages like 50 to 75, right? And if that was your mom or your grandma worried about me, right, you would want me to treat her like gold, right? And so that's the way I treat everybody. Even I treat everybody as if like you're somebody's relative, right? And yeah, it is from my heart. And it's I've known some of you a lot of years. I've known some of you about a year. Some of you I just met, right? And some of you guys know me better than my family knows me, only because you guys understand that we've looked at every detail of everything that um, could be considered a conspiracy, right? And these things, start winding up being true, And then when you finally see the way the world really is, it's shocking, man. And the crazy part is that like the world doesn't want to hear about it. That's the thing, the least thing they want to hear about. And for us, it's the thing we want to talk about the most. And so I hope that you guys have been able to come here and listen and get some kind of hey James, oh, it's good to see you. Um, I hope you guys can come here and listen and just sort of get a release, just a release, that there is a place where you can go and say what you want. And if you want to email me or whatever, I wouldn't mind giving my number out. I just don't want to do it publicly. And that's only because you know how the trolls are. You're here speaking from the heart, and then you have people that tell you to go kill yourself, or don't have kids, or they think they're embarrassing you by putting information about you from back in the day, or doxing you in some kind of way, which I mean, it's whatever to me, but some people are sensitive about that, and so I don't like it when people do that to other people, And then I saw a good video from Michelle W. on her channel. She used to have the Michelle XX channel, and she really put out some good stuff. And I would say to go watch that video on Michelle W.'s channel, the one she just put out. And so that's all I'll say about that. But she's been a hero to me. There's been people that I met online, in this truth community that ended up, living very close to me. And I've been able to meet some of these people, and I'll tell you what, some of the greatest people I know are people I met in this community. And so there are people that maybe aren't following the same path as me, that I've been very, very patient with in this community, right? Even to the point where they've treated me very bad for a long time, right? Just because of like how close you feel to somebody that understands you, And so, really the effort is that I'm trying to help people, right? I'm trying to help people with to understand the truth. Whenever they decide after that, if they don't want to save their soul, right? If they want to go on about their business, right? And they don't want the gift of grace from Jesus Christ, right? Then I can respect that because they have a God-given free will to reject that. The only time where I feel like I need to get involved, right, is when somebody doesn't believe that Jesus is real, right? And they base their decision based on the fact that they don't think it's real. Well, I mean, sometimes I'm the bearer of the truth. It hurts, right? That, it is real, and you can decide not to do it, right? But there's consequences if we don't, if I mean, life does matter, That's just the way it is. And no matter how I feel about it, whether it's fair or not to me, or whether or not I understand it, that doesn't matter, I didn't make the world. I didn't create myself. I didn't create any of you, right? So, only God can convict you, And so, it is what it is. So, anyway, I love you guys, and I just want to say God bless you, and praise Jesus for His sacrifice and His grace. And I'll say this, the only way to really profit from the truth, right, is to follow it all the way out, to know that Jesus has took His own wrath upon Himself to die for our sins, right, so that we can have grace. We're in a grace period. It's a gift, right? Don't turn down the gift because you have some kind of grudge with God. right? Or that you have some kind of grudge with people, or you've had some kind of bad experience with people in churches, right? Like, not everybody that goes to church is necessarily got your best interest in mind, right? There's a lot of people there that could be a very abrasive people, right? And so I would suggest you read the Bible for yourself. And if you want to know more, email me at goodservantshow@yahoo.com, and I'll direct you to some channels that are good channels to go learn about the Bible and to learn about the real nature of God, right? And accept your gifts of grace so that we can move on. This this place is hard, and there's a better place made for us, right? We're not we're not a mistake that came from a monkey, right? We are a divine creation, divine beings, you know, and God loves us very much. So anyway, I love you guys. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys around. All right, God bless.